What is going on, everybody? So in today's video, we're covering the top 5 modifications that you can do to your Focus RS or Focus ST at home to get more performance, more horsepower, more torque out of the car in one foul swoop. So what modification should you do first? And it's completely dependent on what your goals are on the car. If you're trying to make power and you're trying to make power cheap, the cheapest modification you can do, the best bang for your buck, is actually a Cobb Accessport. Now, a Cobb Accessport completely remaps the engine on your car. Now, throw an asterisk up on screen. You have to get a custom tune. Please, guys, please do not run a Cobb Accessport with an off-the-shelf tune that comes with the Accessport. It is dangerous. It's something that if you want your motor to last a long time, reach out to a tuner. There's multiple ones out there. There's Stratified, there's JST, there's Tune Plus. There are a couple of great tuners out there that are gonna set you up perfect for your car. Now, who do I personally use? I use JST Performance. The reason why I chose them over the other tuners is very simple. They like road racing just as much as I do. I go to events across the country with JST and really kind of race with the guy. Now, Brian Tyson is the owner of JST, super humble, super easy to work with, and he's somebody that'll set you up right. So make sure you send him, let him know I sent you. But again, all these other guys are good as well. Again, Tune Plus, Stratified, it doesn't matter who you go with, just please do not use the Cobb off-the-shelf tune. Now, what can you expect out of this? Now, we're gonna have a whole video of a dyno and actually getting the car set up. Now, dyno numbers are dangerous, but you can. So when going this route, you actually have multiple options on how to set up your fueling, how aggressive you want the tune to be. You have all the options in the world. The way my car currently sits today with my tune, right now I have roughly 365 horsepower and 350 foot-pounds of torque. Now, those are relatively safe numbers, and there are a reason why we're doing that, and that's because, again, I want this car to run lap after lap and not worry about it. So if you guys are going for quarter-mile times, or you don't care about your motor, send it into them and tell them to step that shit up and give you the most horsepower you can. It's been known this car can make roughly, I think it's 400 horsepower, roughly 375 foot-pounds of torque, maybe more torque than that. So you can actually get numbers above 400 if you wanted to. Again, you can do this by running E30. You can try to go full E85, but you're gonna have to do some modifications to get there. But you can get above 400 just on an Accessport alone. You just need to be willing to risk it for the biscuit. So that's the #1 modification to get the most bang for your buck, hands down, is a custom tune through an Accessport. Now, if you guys really want to start adding power to the car, what do you need to do? You need to lower those charge temps. So down here, we actually have a Mishimoto Intercooler. It doesn't really matter which brand you go with, you just need to understand the differences and intricacies between all of them. So I went with the Mishimoto because it's a 5-inch core, bar and plate, which is important. Now, ETS also makes bar and plate, Mountune makes bar and plate. Now, the ETS one is a little bit unique. When you go out to buy these, you'll notice that there's a vast price difference between Mishimoto, Mountune, and ETS. What you have to take into account is both the Mishimoto and Mountune come powder coated black, where the ETS, that's an additional option, as well as the Mishimoto and the Mountune come with a 5-inch core. The ETS comes stock with a 4-inch core, which you can then upgrade to the race core at 5 inches. Roughly, you are adding a little bit of weight when you're doing this. You got to keep that in mind. The stock intercooler weighs right around 10 pounds, an ETS 4-inch weighs 20 pounds, and a 5-inch bar and plate intercooler weighs roughly 30 pounds. So that is the next step up in power. And you could probably get, I'm going to throw out numbers there. People are going to comment down below. There's no way that's possible. But you can roughly get, let's say, an extra 15 to 20 horsepower out of an intercooler. And again, you're going to have to stack that with a tune as well, going back to why the Accessport is the #1 modification. Now, this one is going to piss some people off, but who cares? My next modification is actually in the rear of the car here, and that is going to be your exhaust system. So there's multiple options out there. I know AWE makes some great stuff. I personally went with Borla Atak because I've been Borla since day one. Now, Borla, there is absolutely no drone, and in the mid pipe there's a cross section with 4 that completely eliminates all drone. And keep in mind, my car my car is completely gutted. I hear literally every noise on the road, so there's no sound editing at all, and the Borla Atak actually sounds great. It's great bang for your buck, and I love it. So again, you're not going to get too much power of that. Again, I'm going to throw a 5 to 10 horsepower number at it. Not that much, but again, it extremely makes the car more enjoyable to drive, sounds a little bit better, and you get the best bang for your buck and best noise out of 4-cylinder as you can. I would also recommend the AWE switch path. One of my buddies, Drew, has one of those, and it's fantastic as well. Again, there's tons of options out there. What I encourage you guys to do is don't listen to sound clips online. Go to a car show and actually hear them in person. There's such a difference between audio quality on here than actually hearing the exhaust at a show, at a track day, and hear it for yourself. So that is number 2 on the list for modifications for your engine to get a little bit more horsepower and a little bit more performance. So my next modification is actually going to be an intake. And now I've had actually 2 different intakes on this car so far. I've had a Roush and I've had a Mishimoto on the car. The reason why I'm not going to recommend Roush for this scenario is it's plastic, it felt extremely cheap, and it's not something that I think you guys should actually spend your hard-earned money on. Now I now have a wrinkle blue Mishimoto intake, and again, you can go with ETS, that's also an option, and there's a couple other guys that make some great intakes as well. The reason why I'm recommending an intake is, again, not for the power. A lot of this is for the driver experience. We covered the extra power a little bit earlier with the intercooler and Cobb Accessport. This is really going to enhance the sound of the car itself. So my hood vents actually line up perfectly with the airbox itself. So when I'm driving down the road, I'm getting all the whooshes and surges from the turbo, and it is so much more enjoyable to drive. I cannot stress enough how awesome that part was when I put it on the car. There was no butt dyno effect, but it was a great, relatively cheap, it was a great option. AMR looks great in the engine bay, increases the sound, adds a small amount of horsepower, but nothing substantial, and that is why it's number 3 on my list. Alright, so you guys want to take your car, you want to go fast, you want to go down those mountain roads, and you want to do it at a high pace. Now, a lot of the RS's issues stem from overheating. So what I'm going to recommend next is not something that's going to increase your power, but it's actually going to increase the amount of time you can run at high power. And that is actually a radiator. Now it is really hard to see behind there, but I have a Mountune triple pass radiator. It is great at keeping temps extremely low on track and through those mountain curvy roads. So if you're having overheating problems with your car, consider getting a radiator like I have. It's a relatively easy install. It is tucked back there, but all you have to do is jack up the car, remove the bumper, remove a few pipes. Really not that hard. I did it in right around 4 hours, and we have a video actually on that on the channel itself. So great modification to keep your car running, keep it cool, and again, a cool car is a happy car. See, one of the most important parts that most people don't realize about the radiator is that you actually have in the engine bay itself, the coolant circulates right above your oil. So the reason why they did this is try to bring down the temps of your oil in the car, so it's not, if you picture it, there's a plate, there's a bar where all the oil runs through and your filter is, but right above that there's a separate chamber up there that coolant's constantly pooling through, and that's trying to get your oil temps down. So if you lower your coolant temps, you're going to be lowering your oil temps overall. Great modification to do if you guys are really pushing your car hard on track. So when we're talking about bolt-ons, we pretty much covered most of them. There are 2 that I left out. There's obviously, you can get a catless downpipe, and a catless downpipe, I ran it on this car for right around 3 months, and it really sounds raspy. If you have a stock exhaust, I actually heard that it's pretty decent, but it was way too raspy, and the car just never ran right. I got the tune revised, I went through different tuners, I did a couple different things, and it just didn't ever click. So I ended up going back to the stock cat, and what I heard from a lot of people is until you go big turbo, the stock cat is absolutely perfect. So the last thing I'll mention, it's tucked way back there, and it's an external wastegate actuator, and that modification is really going to help you regulate your boost a bit better. It's a cheap modification. What I will say, it is a pain in the ass to install. You're really gonna, there's basically a bolt that's tucked all the way back there, and you have to somehow finagle your arm and a bolt all the way through there. Extremely difficult to do, extreme pain in the ass, but it helps out quite a bit when it comes to controlling boost, allowing your tuner to be more confident, allowing him to add more timing to the motor, or lessening timing, I always get those backwards, and basically let you run more horsepower. So As a quick recap for what we talked about today, number 1 is your Cobb Accessport. Number 2 is your ETS intercooler. Number 3 is your exhaust. 4 is your intake, and 5 is your internal wastegate actuator in the back there. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is something completely new to the channel, doing some new voiceovers. Let me know if you like it. We're trying to improve the audio quality here. We have a lightning storm coming in, but we are sitting here in a parking lot as we always are. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I really enjoyed making this for you guys, and peace out.